Reserves the balance of our time. Gentleman from California.
Madam Speaker, congratulations. It's very nice to see you in the chair, and let me ask unanimous consent that a section-by-section analysis of the resolution appear at this point in the record.
Without objection.
And Madam Speaker, I yield myself such time as I might consume and ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
As we've seen here today, Madam Speaker, we are marking an important turning point in the history of the United States House of Representatives. We have before us a package of reforms that will bring greater transparency and accountability to this House, and it will once again give the American people the opportunity to participate in the legislative process. They've made clear to us that what their priorities are: job creation, economic growth, and a smaller, more accountable federal government must be done. The reforms included in this rules package are designed to ensure that those priorities are met and that we are held responsible for our actions to do the people's work. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to thank each and every one of my colleagues who've worked tirelessly on this rules package. Never before in history has there been the kind of member involvement, bipartisan member involvement, in an opening day rules package. I particularly want to thank my good friends Greg Walden, who led our transition team, and Rob Bishop, who led the rules reform effort, as well as the other members of our transition working group. We had 4 new members of Congress who, right after the election, got involved in working on this very, very important transition. And I want to express my appreciation to that. And as I said, Madam Speaker, this has for the first time ever been bipartisan. Now, I don't want to claim that my Democratic colleagues are supportive of this rules package, but I will say that when we began the process, I'm happy that former Speaker Pelosi designated as liaisons to work with us through the transition process the distinguished former chair of the Administration Committee, Mr. Brady, and the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Andrews. And I want to express my appreciation to them again for their hard work. As we looked for ways to chart a new course and reduce congressional waste, we knew that we had to consider good ideas from both political parties. And that's why I'm happy to say we had input from both Democrats and Republicans in fashioning this opening day rules package. Our Democratic liaisons were tremendous partners, and again, I express my appreciation to my Democratic colleagues for joining with us in this effort. Now, having completed our transition work, we are now beginning a new Congress. Each of us faces the new beginning with the knowledge that congressional approval ratings are abysmally low. It's rare that the Congress is held in high esteem by the American people. We all know that. But it is even rarer. It is even rarer to have an approval rating that is as low as it is right now. Now, why is it that this body has become so unpopular? The reason is that the American people felt that they were not being listened to. They have sent us here to conduct the 112th Congress differently than any Congress of the past. I'm not going to just talk about the last 2 Congresses, Madam Speaker. I'm going to say that they set us here this year to perform differently than any Congress of the past. What's more, they've given us, as Speaker Boehner likes to say, some pretty simple and clear and direct marching orders when it comes to our work. Fulfill our constitutional duties in an open and transparent way. Now, Madam Speaker, this rules package that we have before us provides us the tools to do just what the American people have asked, to perform our constitutional duties in a transparent and open way. Because our highest priorities are job creation and economic growth, we must rein in the government spending that has spiraled out of control over the past several years. We're taking several steps to meet that goal. For starters, we're requiring that any new spending be offset for 5 10-year budget windows. If a bill increases the deficit by more than $5 billion in any of these 10-year windows, it will be subjected to a point of order. In other words, we're changing the rules of the House to ensure that we look at short, medium, as well as long-term consequences to federal spending. We should not and cannot consider legislation that pushes the federal budget deficit and the problems down the road. We will also be reforming the spending process by replacing pay-go with cut-go. Rather than pairing spending with tax increases, job-killing tax increases, we will pair it with spending cuts. It's often been said that we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. These new rules will make it easier to reduce spending rather than increase it. In fact, the idea behind this package is to focus on ways in which we can increase the opportunity, reduce spending rather than increase it. Now, Madam Speaker, we're also taking important steps to make us more accountable to the American people, the people whom we're so honored to represent. We won't be voting on bills unless they've been available for at least 3 calendar days. We will be returning much of the legislative work back to the committees, where greater transparency will be required. The work product, the recorded votes, and the video archives of all committees are required by these rules to be posted online. No longer will massive legislation be written behind closed doors, regardless of political party, and rammed through the House before anyone has the chance to review or amend the text. Our work will be done in an open way that affords all members the opportunity to participate and scrutinize. Another key reform by this rules package is the creation of an electronic format for legislation. This represents a dramatic change in how legislation is made available, not just to members, but to the public and the press as well. Now, Madam Speaker, for the last 2 centuries, legislation was considered available when a paper copy was dropped off in the document room across the street. Now it will be considered available when anyone with access to the internet can look it up. Now, this new format will evolve over time, and there's work ahead still has to be done as we implement these rules changes. But no member should consider this vote as the end of the reform efforts of this Congress. Again, what we're doing here today is simply the first step in what is going to be an on-year, 2-year process of reform. We will not be wed to the way we used to do things. Rather, we will be looking for new and different ways to do our jobs and to do them in the most transparent and accountable way. And let me say again, Madam Speaker, it's very important for us to ensure that we have the input of my friend from Rochester, Ms. Slaughter, and other Democrats, as well as Republicans in this process. Madam Speaker, this rules package is a very significant first step. We've learned the hard way that bad process inevitably results in bad outcomes. We need look no further than our ailing economy and spiraling deficit, not to mention Congress's abysmal approval rating, to see that that's true. By reforming the rules of the House, we set the stage for reforming the entire federal government. Ultimately, we ensure fidelity to the original rules document, that being the Constitution. And I'm so pleased that tomorrow, on the House floor, led by our friend from Virginia, Mr. Goodlatte, we will be having a bipartisan reading of the Constitution. And Madam Speaker, our founders understood better than anyone the importance of restraining federal power. I think that Thomas Jefferson put it best when he said, "In questions of power, let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind him down from mischief by the chains of the Constitution." Now, Madam Speaker, in the coming Congress, this Congress, we will refocus our efforts on fulfilling our constitutional duties in a transparent and responsible way. We will be reform-minded and accountability-oriented. And we will be driven by the number one concern of the American people, getting our economy back on track. Madam Speaker, form dictates function, and these new rules will set us on the path toward greater economic growth and confidence for the American people. And with that, I urge support of this very important resolution and reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentlewoman from New York.